After World War II, there was a mass immigration of Germans to various countries within South America. To be more specific, there were many Germans who fled to the mountains of Chile. And to get even more specific, there was one man, Paul Schaefer, a faith healer who migrated to Chile in 1961. And in 1886, James Phillips would write the original version of the Three Little Pigs fairy tale, a fable about three pigs who built their houses out of different materials to defend themselves against the big bad wolf. And this is a 2018 stop-motion horror film titled The Wolf House. And if you're wondering how these three things are connected, well, I'm glad you asked. I'm Nightmare Movies, and today I want to talk about one of the most disturbing animated films ever made, but for more reasons than you think. The film opens with narration from a Spanish-speaking German man. Playing over his narration is what feels almost like an infomercial for a colony in the Chilean mountains, a colony comprised of mostly Germans. It's presented in this almost innocent manner. The narrator tells us all about the strong community that has been built here. They live, they work, they serve the community, and they sing. But then the narrator mentions something to contrast the happy community that we see. A, quote, dark legend that has been created around us. He continues to speak about rumors being spread about this colony, and eventually offers to share with us a film from the colony's vault, in hopes of dispelling said rumors. And with our intro out of the way, our opening title cards read as follows. Once upon a time, a beautiful girl named Maria lived in our community. Maria spent her time dreaming and playing with the animals instead of working. One day, Maria was disobedient and let 3 pigs escape from their pen. You will spend 100 days and 100 nights without talking to anyone, so that you may reflect on what you've done, we told her. It's not fair, Maria thought. I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. So one night, when everyone was asleep, Maria escaped from the colony. She ran into the woods alone, searching for a place to hide. And as these words fade away and Maria enters the forest, she tells us that a wolf is chasing her, that he's near, but he will not catch her because she finds a house in the forest and enters. Her stomach growls and she searches the house to see if anyone is home. Slowly, we see the house being drawn into reality. And something else being drawn in is a painting of Maria, a young, blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl looking around for help. With no one responding, though, she checks around the house for supplies, but doesn't seem to find anything. That is until she enters the bathroom where 2 little pigs sit in the corner, hungry, thirsty, and alone, just like her. She assures them that she's not going to eat them, and in fact, she's going to make this place a home for them. As the 3 of them sit together on the couch, Maria reflects on how she misses no one from the colony, because here she can sing and do whatever she wants. And then she tells us how she's going to transform these pigs into beautiful creatures, ones that will never leave her. Suddenly, though, we hear that same narrator from the intro beckoning for Maria. All of the color leaves Maria and the pigs, and they quickly melt into the couch, trying to hide from the wolf. On the TV, the wolf asks what their new home is made out of. Do they keep the doors and windows closed? A stranger should never be able to enter a real home. The wolf's threatening presence is eventually shut off, literally, as Maria turns off the television. And this is where the transformation of these pigs to become beautiful creatures also begins. And it slowly becomes apparent that Maria is trying to turn these pigs into humans, specifically her children. And this isn't the only strange thing that Maria creates. She also sews together what she calls a magical dress, but more on that in a second, because now it's Christmas time, and we get to see for the first time how her little children have grown. These uncanny pig-human hybrids crawl around the floor, and it's so unsettling. What makes it even more unsettling is Maria's narration, where she refers to herself not only as their mother, but as an angel. Whatever she's doing to these pigs, Maria feels like it's the just and right thing to be doing. And since you're probably wondering what she got them for Christmas, well, it's clothing. A jersey and pants for the boy, Pedro, and a magical dress for the girl, Anna. And it truly is magical, because once they put on the clothing, it completes the little pig's transformation into Maria's own little children. And this is where the film starts to take a disturbing turn. Maria has seemingly crafted her own perfect life with her 2 perfect children. She tells her own stories to the children about the dangers of leaving their home, but reassures them that there's no danger within, only love. But if we're being honest, it doesn't seem like that's the truth. There's a darkness infecting this home, and as the story goes on, the children begin to notice it and become more and more disobedient to their mother. And as this nightmare is unfolding, the wolf continues to tempt Maria. Just let him in.
Let him in.
But all Maria knows is that if she does, there will be consequences for her actions. So she keeps the doors and windows shut. And inside, it's time for Pedro to choose. Does he want to be strong and handsome, or little and ugly? And all he has to do is drink the honey. He drinks it, and as he does, his hair and eyes shift from a dark brown all around to a light blonde and bright blue. And now he is seemingly handsome and perfect, just what Maria wants him to be. And it's no different for Anna. Maria wants to transform her as well. Her hair shifts to that same beautiful blonde, and a forest of flowers and foliage grows from her. Maria has the perfect home finally, a safe place where her children have become what she views as their perfect selves. They say what she wants them to say and do as they're told. But all of that is going to change with the realization that Maria has. They have finally run out of food. Her and her children are starving, and whispers from her children creep into her conscience. Bad. She is bad. Selfish. And this is when Maria catches them in the kitchen late at night, eating jam together on the floor. Jam that they had hidden from their mother. The secrecy and lies are getting to Maria, and so is the hunger. So, as a hopeful solution to both problems, Maria decides that she's going to leave the house to get apples from a tree. But just like she taught them, the children say that it's dangerous outside. And they even tell her that there's still food in the house. But what do they mean by that? We see that the cabinets are empty. There's nothing to eat in this house. Well, Maria wakes up to find herself tied to her bed, and standing over her are Pedro and Anna. They look at her with sinister grins and only muttering the word hungry. Pedro's hand reaches for his mother, and we all know what's going to happen next. So Maria, with no other options left, begs for the wolf to come and save her, admitting to him that she needs someone to take care of her. And so the wolf arrives to save her. And once he does, Maria transforms into a bird and is taken back home to her colony, where she is able to recover her, quote, vitality and helpful spirit. And that is the Wolf House. Now, about Chile. In 1963, Paul Schaefer would found the Colonia Dignidad, a deeply religious colony that housed hundreds of people immigrating to Chile that was mainly exporting agricultural goods. Described as a state within a state, the colony was self-sufficient. It had its own school, its own hospital, and even 2 airstrips. From the outside, it seemed like a small community of eccentric evangelicals, but in reality, it was a place shrouded in secrecy, protected by barbed wire, watchtowers, and eventually even the Chilean government. Fast forwarding to 1970, Salvador Allende would be elected president of Chile, and this is also when Schaefer would find a much better source of income for his compound than agriculture. You see, Schaefer's compound was designated a charitable organization, so whatever was shipped into it was not being checked by customs. And so the colony and Schaefer would slowly start shipping in various weapons as presents for Salvador's political rivals. Now, eventually this led to a coup against Salvador, and there are a lot of interesting details that surround it, but the important part to know is that he was found dead in his own office. And with his death, the position of president was left open, a position that was filled by a future collaborator of Schaefer, Augusto Pinochet. Augusto and Schaefer turned Colonia Dignidad into their own personal prison. Augusto used it as a secret detention center where they would detain, torture, and execute anyone that his secret police would arrest. At the same time, Schaefer used this as his own personal playground for his punishments and perversions. This ranged from separating children from their families to electrocutions as punishment for bad behavior. And this is just what was known to be happening within the walls of Colonia Dignidad, and would continue to happen all the way up until the 1990s, when Augusto would step down as president and when children would come forward to report the crimes of Paul Schaefer. Crimes, as you can imagine, that were truly horrific. In the end, 26 children came forward who had visited the colony and suffered at the hands of Paul Schaefer, and a warrant was sent out for his arrest. For the next 8 years, he was able to avoid capture, but eventually Paul was found in March of 2005. Paul Schaefer was sentenced to 20 years in jail for abusing children, where he would eventually die in April of 2010. Now, as far as the point that I made in the beginning, about the connections between this, the Three Little Pigs, and the Wolf House, well, I'm sure you've figured it out by now. The Wolf House is in part a nightmare fairy tale about the Colonia Dignidad. From the German narrator to the colony being based in Chile, everything points back to this. But on a broader thematic level, to me, it's about the dangers of all these kinds of cults and compounds. Let me break it down a little. Maria is the prime example of someone who has been indoctrinated and brainwashed by a cult. She constantly talks about how she wants to escape it, but in doing so, she creates her own version of the colony in this home, and the pigs are her prisoners. Even the wolf addresses at one point that this house is a prison, just like in the way she viewed the colony. Maria denies it, but it's true. She changes the pigs into what she believes are good, beautiful children. Blonde hair, blue eyes. She sings to them in German and forces her beliefs and culture onto them. All the things that she was most likely taught her whole life. She projects this onto the pigs because she was tricked into believing a very dangerous version of reality, one that has terrifying connections to our own history. Look to any real-world examples of cults like Colonia Dignidad or the Colony and the Wolf House, and you'll find eerie similarities most likely across all of them. Things like the People's Temple all the way to the Manson cult. To these cult leaders, it's about creating their own little world and villainizing anything outside of it. These people want control, and it's horrifying what they can do once they achieve it. And the scariest part about all of it is that the people inside are oftentimes either complicit in the crimes going on or scared into silence under the threat of the same thing happening to them. And all of this is tied up nicely by the film using the Three Little Pigs story for its allegory, something that I think is extremely fitting. Now, there's so much about this film that is up for your own interpretation. There are obvious themes of motherhood, religion, and specifically women's roles in religion and religious texts. We see things like a picture of Mother Mary being hung on the wall of the house, and Maria referring to herself as an angel. Also, the name Maria being a not so subtle reference to Mary. But even beyond that, as you can tell just by watching during the breakdown, from a technical level, this movie is beyond impressive. The many mediums being blended together in this way creates some striking and haunting images without a doubt. I've seen a lot of people compare this to some of the early work of David Lynch, and I think that's an extremely accurate comparison. Films like this honestly aren't usually my cup of tea. Art house or surrealist filmmaking can sometimes overwhelm me or just straight up confuse me, but I think The Wolf House is something special. If you're looking for a nightmarish stop-motion film, this is probably one of the best options out there. And if you're looking for a haunting real-life story to dig into, this film is a great introduction to one. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'm Nightmare Movies, and I'll see you all next time.